Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Mailbag, the show here on Collider Video where all we do is take your mailbag questions. My name is John Campia. I am the senior producer over here at Collider Video. And what a day. It's Sunday here. And by the way, look, for those of you who look for the moment the shows get uploaded, I know today's show on Sunday is being uploaded rather late. I am a bit under the weather. I wasn't feeling great. Wasn't even 100% sure I could do the show today, but I know a bunch of you guys were waiting for it, so I wanted to make sure we did the show. So I'm going to try to soldier through here. Forgive me if my energy level is a little bit low. Last night was crazy. On a little bit of let me start on a bit of a set note, because this is Mailbag. This is more informal. We're just hanging out and talking. And I know you guys, some of you guys go crazy, like mad, angry at me when I go off on sports stuff, but I gotta bring this up. Whole bunch of us, including me and Dennis and Ray and Ann and El Maembe, Umberto from Heroic Hollywood, we all went to a bar I like going to watch UFC fights called Happy Ending in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard to watch the Ronda Rousey fight. And Ronda Rousey came out and knocked her opponent out in 34 seconds. In 34 seconds, knocked her out. And I went on Facebook or Twitter yesterday, and because I think this is special. I think this generation right now, we are witnessing something iconic. The last three fights, remember, these are all the top championship contenders fighting Ronda Rousey, okay? Her last three fights, Ronda Rousey has won in a combined 64 seconds. 64 seconds. Last night, she knocked the girl out in 34 seconds. Her fight before that, which was the girl that's supposed to be able to beat Ronda Rousey, Ronda beat her in 14 seconds. The fight before that, Ronda beat her in 16 seconds. The fight before that, I think Ronda won in less than a minute. Like 4 fights in a row for a combined, like a minute 50 or a minute 40. I have to look up the exact number. 4 fights combined, total time under 2 minutes. And the last 3 fights combined 64 seconds. It's insane. And anyway, I got on Facebook and on Twitter last night. I said, like it or not, we're going to have to acknowledge here. And remember, a number of years ago, there weren't even allowed to have female MMA fighters. And now the most dominant MMA fighter in the world is a woman in Ronda Rousey. I said, Ronda Rousey, more than Gretzky, more than Jordan, more than anybody. Ronda Rousey is the most dominant athlete in their sport that we have ever seen, ever. Now, I had a few people understand what I was saying, and they were like, yeah, John, she really is. And some people who don't watch MMA or whatever, no, John, Jordan is better or Gretzky's better. And like you're misunderstanding. These people are misunderstanding my point. I'm not saying Jordan wasn't better. I'm not saying Gretzky wasn't better. I'm not saying whatever. But when you look at a sport and say who so thoroughly dominates their sport that it's them and then about 5 miles back is their closest competition, Jordan was the best in the game. Gretzky was the best in the game. But neither of them so owned their sport so thoroughly that the other people might as well not even show up as Ronda Rousey is doing right now in mixed martial arts. It's just never happened. I was listening to a guy on ESPN and he made this wild comparison, but he was like, look, if you average out between football, basketball, hockey, he goes, sometimes we use this formula for comparing athletes of different sports. I say, what does an average basketball player get as far as points per game? What does an average hockey player get as far as goals per season? How much does, all that kind of stuff. Then how many times does an average UFC fighter win? And when they win, how fast do they on average win? They say you get those as averages. Then you start to say, okay, well then a basketball player who gets 40 points a game, that would be like a hockey player getting this many goals per game, getting a hat trick, getting 3 goals per game. They have this measurement. And they said, the guy in ESPN was going, when you compare that measurement, when you take that allegorical, granted it's only allegorical measurement, he said, what Ronda Rousey is doing right now, having won, he didn't even count her 4th fight ago that she won in under 2 minutes. But he said just in her last 3 fights, beating her opponents in 64 seconds combined, he goes, this is the equivalent of an NBA player scoring 80 points a game and 30 to 40 rebounds per game. Never happened. I think I think Kobe Bryant about 7 years ago in one game got 80. They said that's what Ronda Rousey is doing right now. This is unheard of. This is unprecedented. So, for my opinion, just my opinion, is Wayne Gretzky the better athlete? Yes. In my opinion, is Michael Jordan the better athlete? Yes. But no one person has ever so thoroughly dominated their sport the way Ronda Rousey is dominating mixed martial arts right now. It's just never happened. It's math. It's just simple math. I'm not saying she's the greatest. I'm just saying no one's ever owned their sport the way she's owned it. Anyway, I just had to get that out. I've been buzzing about, like, as a sports fan that I am, I'm wowed that I get to see this happening. This is just crazy stuff. Anyway, hey, before we get to the first mailbag question, by the way, if you want a question of yours asked on Mailbag or on Movie Talk Monday through Friday, just send on in a question to this email address to collidervideo@gmail.com. We try to take some questions every single day on Movie Talk and, of course, here on the weekend's Mailbag. And I want to address something. On yesterday's Mailbag, I had a couple people email me complaining, saying, John, don't drink while you're doing the show. It's annoying. And to them, I would like to say, I hear your complaints, and I understand what you're saying. One more. Oh, yummy. I'm playing with you. I'm just playing. I know it's a bit annoying when I'm doing the show and I have to pause and I go, and my microphone is very sensitive so you can hear it. Yeah. I get it. I do. I totally understand. It is a bit annoying. I just hope you guys understand that I'm in Southern California and it's like 40 degrees outside Celsius. I don't know what the conversion is to Fahrenheit. It's real hot. It's really hot. And to do the show in my office, I turn off the air conditioning so you guys don't hear the annoying air conditioner running the whole time. And I'm talking for like 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes straight. My throat gets a little bit sore. I get hot. I think you can probably tell by looking at my skin, I'm already sweating a little bit. So during the show, I got to take pauses and drink something. You know, when we're doing movie talk, it's easy because when somebody else talks, then I can grab off camera a drink and just keep myself hydrated. So I acknowledge it's a little bit annoying and I do apologize. I just ask for your understanding when I have to grab a soda or something, take a drink just to keep myself cool. Anyway, thank you for indulging me. Now let's get on to why we're here. The mailbag questions. Only 7 or 8 minutes in and we're getting to our first mailbag question. All right. The first mailbag question today comes to us from Keith Johnson, who writes, Hello, Collider crew. Love your show. After the massive success of the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies, why hasn't Hollywood jumped on the epic fantasy stories that are out there? There are so many great fantasy novels to try and adapt, such as the Dragonlance Chronicles, Forgotten Realms, the Drizzt series, the Sword of Truth series, Raymond E. Feist's Magicians, and the Wheel of Time, just to name a few. Well, thanks a lot for the question, Keith. And, you know, back in the day when the Lord of the Rings movies first, the original series of Lord of the Rings came out, directed by Peter Jackson, I remember a lot of people were thinking that this is it. This is going to throw open the floodgates of people doing sword and sandal, sorcery, fantasy movies because Lord of the Rings is doing so well. And what actually happened was the reverse. No other fantasy movies really came out. I mean, there were a couple of projects, but really this huge flood of fantasy movies that a lot of us were expecting after the success of Lord of the Rings, it never came. And as a matter of fact, what Lord of the Rings did at the time, we realized, was it had the opposite effect. It scared a lot of studios away from making those movies. Remember the Lord of the Rings trilogy, all 3 of those films got nominated for Best Picture. And the third one, Lord of the Rings Return of the King, is tied for the record for most Oscars won by any movie. It won 11. It won in every single category it was nominated for with 11. I mean, this is unprecedented. And I think what happened was a bunch of studios and filmmakers were then kind of shied away from the fantasy epics like that, because I think they were a little bit nervous of the comparisons to Lord of the Rings, which were so astronomically successful. And that flood of fantasy movies that we were expecting never actually came to pass, which is kind of interesting. Now, the Hobbit films have come out, and while they have met with some criticism, I like the Hobbit films. Even the ones I'm less keen on overall, I really did like the new Hobbit trilogy. The new Hobbit trilogy came out, made a ton of money, boatloads of money. So Keith asked a very interesting question. Why then isn't Hollywood like jumping on these other fantasy series? And I think there's a couple of reasons. But I think the main reason right now is that you bring up a bunch of other fantasy epics that are out there right now in novel form. None of them come close to the brand awareness and popularity of Lord of the Rings. None of them even come close. You know, one of the reasons that New Line and everything, greenlit the original Lord of the Rings movies was not because these are great stories. Like, it's not like they'd never heard of Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson came in and read these books. They were, oh my gosh, these need to be movies. No, the reason New Line greenlit the Lord of the Rings films was because they were culturally beloved. Even people who hadn't read Lord of the Rings knew of Lord of the Rings. And there was just such a huge brand awareness. So you had that, that dual effect. It was amazing, great, fantastic source material, and it had great pre-existing brand awareness. So you had really good potential there to do something special. And Peter Jackson, I think he made, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be totally wrong about this, but I think Peter Jackson made the first Lord of the Rings trilogy for $300 million. So it wasn't that expensive when you consider making all three of them together. And he found some great ways to shoot that film where he got to save a lot of money and yet get maximum effect for all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think one of the reasons now, this new movie that's coming out called Warcraft. A lot of people talk about Warcraft as in, hey, this could be the first video game movie that breaks through and really is a great video game movie. It's more than that. I believe Warcraft is the most important film we have coming out in the next couple of years. Because not only, it carries two genres on its back right now. Number one is the video game genre. Can it be the first truly great video game movie? But number two is the fantasy epic, the sword and sandal and battles, that kind of epic. Warcraft is a combination of both. And I believe if Warcraft can be, number one, really great so that the fans and the critics love it, and number two, be financially successful, then I think we will see that resurgence. If another fantasy movie can come out that's not called Lord of the Rings or not called The Hobbit and do really well and be great, then I think, I'm speculating here completely, then I think we're going to see a resurgence of those kinds of movies, of both video game and fantasy. At least that's what I'm hoping for. My fingers are crossed. So no pressure, guys, Duncan Jones. No pressure. You just have the future, the immediate future at any rate, of two entire genres riding on your film's shoulders. So go to it, Duncan Jones. All right. Before I get to the next question, I forgot to ask. A lot of people are asking me about the glasses. For those of you who used to watch Mailbag, because I broke these out again for yesterday's show. For those of you who used to watch Mailbag, I used to wear these all the time. What these are, and no, I'm not trying to look like Bono. Honestly, I don't even really like the look of these glasses. I don't. I think I look kind of stupid. But anyway, these glasses are called, and I recommend them for you guys out there because I know a lot of you are gamers. These glasses are called Gunnars, Gunnars. And they're normally around $100-something, but I often see them on sale on Amazon and on Woot for $50 or something like that. What they are is they're a lens, a type of glasses that is specifically made to filter out a certain type of light that comes off of monitors. And so I think they were initially specifically made for video gamers who after, they're playing video games for an hour or 2 hours and they start to get eye fatigue and everything because they're sitting this close to their TV playing their PlayStation 4 and their eyes are getting bombarded with that type of light that kind of tires the eye. Anyway, I'm not going to pretend to know the science of it. I don't understand it. But a friend of mine, I work in front of 3 monitors, 2 27-inch monitors, 1 21-inch monitor. And I'm sitting fairly close to them. And I got this light bombarding off me. So when I'm sitting here in front of this computer for any period of time, especially when I'm doing a show, and I'm trying to look at a camera while I've got these 3 monitors worth of lights bombarding my face, I found I started to get headaches. This is about 2 years ago. I started to get headaches. And a friend of mine recommended these glasses to me. And I said, well, that sounds like a gimmick. But I gave them a try. And lo and behold, I found they actually work. I found I could get through a show and not get headaches. So I don't know how they work. I don't understand the science of them. I understand they make me look stupid. Not that it takes a lot to make me look stupid, granted. But they actually work, and they make it so I don't get headaches, so I use them. But so if you're interested in these things, once again, Gunnars, Gunnars. They don't pay me anything. I'm not associated with the company anyway. I just found that they work for me. All right, let's move on to the next question today. And the next question today comes to us from Simon Adelaju, who writes, I saw Inside Out, and I really enjoyed it. I know we usually say that Pixar makes adult movies which are kid-friendly, but I think Inside Out was a kid movie which was adult-friendly. What do you guys think? Inside Out is still probably my favorite movie of the year. I just think it's the best movie of the year. If I had to hand out an Academy Award today, and there's still a lot of year left, obviously, but if I had to hand out the Academy Award today for Best Picture, personally for me, it would go to Inside Out. I just think it's brilliant from start to finish. And you're right. I often say that. Now, I don't say that Pixar makes adult movies that are kid-friendly. I say Pixar makes great movies that happen to be kid-friendly. There's a difference between that and making kid movies or movies for kids. Pixar doesn't make movies for kids. Pixar just makes great movies that happen to be kid-friendly. When you look at movies like Ratatouille, especially The Incredibles or Up, there are themes and issues in those movies that are not themes or issues that kids would even understand or even get. They go way over their heads. And so there are things that are targeted for audience, but that doesn't mean they're adult movies. They just happen to make great movies. That's it. They don't set out to make a kid movie. They don't set out to make an adult movie. They just set out to make a great movie and make it friendly for kids at the same time. So you bring up the question, like, do you think that maybe Inside Out was the first one they made for kids? No, I don't. No, I don't. You know, when I think of there's a lot of animation out there that is made for kids. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But, you know, the movies and the animations that are made for kids are like, let's go find the square, you know, and that's for kids, right? When you look at Inside Out, there's a complexity to Inside Out. And there's so much of that movie that'll go right over a kid's head. Yes, the joy and disgust and anger and fear, they're colorful and they're bright, and sadness. I think sadness is my favorite character in that movie. You know, all these things are there, and the kids will be entertained by them, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of themes and emotional hooks and things like that that will also go right over a kid's head, and that's fine. A kid didn't need those to enjoy the film. So my personal opinion is that Inside Out is absolutely a movie that was just made to be a great movie and be kid-friendly. I did not find the movie to be a kid movie whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. That's just my opinion, though. So if you saw it differently, more power to you. That's great. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Cody Guest, who writes, in honor of Rowdy Roddy Piper's recent passing, I want to know what your guys' favorite performance is in a movie where one of the actors came from the world of professional wrestling, excluding Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Mine would have to be either Dave Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy or Rowdy Piper in They Live. What are your guys' thoughts? Rest in peace, Roddy Piper. Yeah, I mean, I was just stunned yesterday. I mean, today I will still watch WrestleMania. And today I will still watch maybe SummerSlam when a couple friends will get together and watch it on pay-per-view. But I don't, you know, regularly watch wrestling anymore. But I unabashedly watched it all the time growing up. Even into my 20s, I watched wrestling. I got a big kick out of wrestling. And Rowdy Roddy Piper, one of the greatest pure entertainers we've ever had. That dude, and he was awesome. I had a chance to get together with him in Toronto a bunch of years ago. And it was one of the biggest thrills of my life at the time, is to meet and hang out. I got to talk to him for like 20 to 30 minutes, talking to Rowdy Piper. And, you know, the dude just loved life. And he loved entertaining people. And he mainly did it by being the bad guy. But I'm telling you, folks, before Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came around and made an art out of the mic skills, you know, get your candy ass out here. You know, before The Rock started doing that, there was Rowdy Roddy Piper. And Rowdy Roddy Piper was so far ahead of everybody else when it came to mic skills. He revolutionized it. There wouldn't have been a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had it not been for Rowdy Roddy Piper. And Piper's Pit were some of the greatest things ever. And the dude was just awesome. And anyway, a number of years ago, he makes this sci-fi horror borderline comedy thing, They Live, where a lot of terms that we use in pop culture today were actually coined in that movie. I came here to kick ass and chew gum. and I'm all out of gum. Things like that. It came from that. They Live is a really fun movie, man. You got to check out They Live. And one of the craziest fight scenes between two dudes, and one of the longest fight scenes between two dudes I've ever seen in a movie. It's kind of crazy. And Roddy Piper was the lead in the film. And it was great. If I had to guess then about who I would say is the best performer in a movie, in movies, other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because Dwayne Johnson's become a legit thing, I wouldn't say Dave Batista. I think they used Batista great, but he wasn't called upon to do all that much in Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think Dave Batista, being the humble, awesome guy that he is, would be the first one to tell you that. Oddly enough, I got to say Stone Cold Steve Austin, man. When Steve Austin appears in a movie, I think I know what I'm going to get. I think I'm going to get a certain, he was actually pretty good in The Expendables. Remember, he was the bad guy in the first Expendables, one of the bad guys? I thought he was great in that. Where him and Randy Couture had that big fight at the end. I thought that was great. I thought he was really great as one of the prison guards in The Longest Yard. That stupid little movie he did, The Condemned. I thought he was pretty okay in that. I think Vinnie Jones was the bad guy in that. So is Stone Cold Steve Austin a great actor? No. But when he's in a movie, I feel like I can count on a certain level of quality that he's going to bring to it doing what he does best. And so I'm going to go out on a limb myself personally and just say Stone Cold Steve Austin. So there you go. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Victor Henderson, who writes, with Marvel's Ant-Man being out for a while now, how would you rank at least your top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe films? Thanks. Oh, man. The thing about these top 5 questions is you got to understand, film is so subjective that it even becomes subjective to ourselves. You can name off your top 5, favorite flavors of ice cream today, but in 2 years, you may not have been introduced to any new flavors of ice cream, but your order may change because you've changed, your tastes have changed, and now maybe you look at things a little bit differently. And I think with movies, it can change day to day. I talk about that all the time when talking about our favorite comedies or our favorite animated films. I mean, it can change day to day because who we are as a person changes from moment to moment, and therefore how we look at certain films can change. So it's tough for me to accept questions about top 5s because once I do a video like this, it's out on the internet forever. And then, I could say, so my favorite Marvel film is this. And then a year from now, I'll say something else. And so we go, oh, John, you hypocrite. First of all, I find that people on the internet do not understand the definition of the word hypocrite. Anyway, by the way, folks, quick education. Hypocrite does not mean changing your mind. Just want to let you know that. Anyway, so I hesitate to put these out there because once I say this, now it's out there and I know people are going to use it against me forever, but whatever, I don't care. So here right now, as of today, August 2nd, this was how I would list my top 5 favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Number 5, right now I would have Age of Ultron. Had super fun with that. I know a lot of people had some issues for it. I don't get it. I thought it was super fun. It was bombastic. It was huge in scale. Was it as good as the original? Probably not, no. But, I just loved it. So number 5 for me is Age of Ultron. Number 4 is Ant-Man. I just adore this film. Totally adore the film. I've watched it 4 times now, I think, maybe 5. And I'm going to watch it 1 or 2 more times while it's in theater. I just have so much fun with that. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's weird because if you asked me this last week, I might have had Ant-Man above Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's how quickly our minds can change. But anyway, as of today, 5, Age of Ultron, 4, Ant-Man, 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. And number 2, I think, would be the top 2 for most people. Number 2 for me would be Captain America Winter Soldier. That movie just blew me away. The quality of that film, it is an exceptional movie. It's not just a great Marvel film. That is a great damn movie. It's not just a great comic book movie. It is a great damn movie. Captain America Winter Soldier is just awesome. And number 1, obviously, I still think the greatest comic book film of all time, myself personally, is The Avengers. So 5, Age of Ultron, 4, Ant-Man, 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, 2, Captain America Winter Soldier, and number 1, The Avengers. So that's how I would rank them. Sorry about that. If you thought me drinking on water was annoying, how about sneezing into the mic? I say, guys, I'm not feeling good today, so bear with me. All right, so those are my top 5. I'd be curious to know, what are your guys' top 5 favorite Marvel Cinematic films right now that Ant-Man's out? Jump in the comments section, leave your thoughts. I'm dying to know what you think. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Will Jones. And Will Jones writes, "Hey, Collider crew, been watching for over a year now. Thank you so much. A little more than a year ago, it was reported that Pixar was going to re-release both The Incredibles and Ratatouille in 3D. There's been no further speculation about this so far as I know. Have you heard anything else about this report, and what do you think about it?" Well, thanks a lot for the question, Will. But just to clarify, I don't think it was ever announced that Ratatouille and The Incredibles we're going to get theatrical releases in 3D. Now, remember in 2011, The Lion King, they re-released it in theaters, and even Disney did not expect the reaction it got. It made almost $100 million in its re-release in 2011. And I really expected them to pour out a lot more, and I think they maybe did one more and then kind of pulled back and stopped. But yeah, when they originally announced The Incredibles and Ratatouille in 3D, I think it was always meant to be as a home release. I heard a couple of whispers here and there going, oh, maybe they'll do it theatrically, but I think those things all went away. And so I think the talk right now is still kind of revolving around the issue of them getting Blu-ray releases in 3D, which I don't think they've done that yet. And so, I don't think we're getting, as far as I know, I could be wrong. If you guys have heard something different, please mention it in the comments section with a link to your source. That's going to become a rule around here, guys. If you're going to say you know something in the comment section, put in a link to your source. I'd be really curious to see it. But as far as I know, there's no plans to release either The Incredibles or Ratatouille in 3D into theaters. But please, if you know different, leave it in the comment section below. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us all the way from Donald Long, who writes, "Hey, Collider crew, I just watched Days of Future Past again, and I know Fox wiped the slate clean in that movie, but the ending might have brought up some new continuity errors going forward that they might run into, like all the main cast being alive at the end of the film, and also Colossus being in Deadpool. Does this limit some things Fox can do, or don't they care about continuity? Thanks, and keep up the great work." We made up a saying around movie talk like last year or something, and I'm totally convinced that somewhere in the halls of Fox Studios is a giant plaque on a wall as you're walking through the hollowed halls of Fox Studios, where so many great, legendary, iconic films were brain trusted and brought together, and you look around at these iconic posters and movie memorabilia, that somewhere is a giant 12-foot plaque on the wall, inscribed in great detail, almost Japanese calligraphy kind of font, and it very elegantly says, "Continuity, schmontinuity." Continuity, schmontinuity. I'm pretty sure that's the mantra over at Fox. Fox has demonstrated when it comes to the X-Men franchise over and over and over again. Continuity, schmontinuity. They don't care. And you know what? To be fair, the comics themselves have often been very guilty of continuity errors and continuity mistakes. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you said Reed Richards did this, but in another issue, he said something completely different. Okay, like, to be fair, the comics aren't always consistent. That's why they reboot the comics so many damn times. So in the X-Men universe, yeah, they've had a lot of continuity problems. And like kind of the underlying joy about X-Men Days of Future Past was they kind of reset the timeline to deal with all the continuity issues, right? And we were like, brilliant, Fox, brilliant. Not only did you make this awesome kick-ass movie in X-Men Days of Future Past, but you fixed your continuity problems by this brilliant ending. Well done. Bravo. You did it, Fox. Well done. Well, then shortly after that, we found out Colossus is going to be in Deadpool. You understand how, wait a minute, that doesn't quite fit our understanding of Colossus, and they changed actors and they did all that kind of stuff. Which goes to show that I believe in the hallowed halls of Fox Studios, that Japanese calligraphy plaque still hangs. Continuity, schmontinuity. And you know what? I'm not worried about it. I'm not. I've just come to accept it from Fox when it comes to the X-Men stuff. They're not all that worried. They are more concerned about doing what works for this movie, whatever movie they're working on, than they are about worrying about continuity. Because their attitude seems to be the audience will get over it. That seems to be their attitude. And you know what? They're not wrong. I don't care. As long as it doesn't completely destroy the foundation of what the last movie was or what the next movie is, little continuity errors, if it serves the movie you're making to give me a better movie-going experience, blah, whatever, go for it. Marvel's being very careful about making everything very tight and in continuity, and that's great. But Fox does not seem to care, and you know what? Continuity was not the problem with X-Men Origins. Continuity was not the problem with X-Men 3. Continuity has never been the problem. You know, bad movies have been the problem when they have had bad movies. And when they've had great movies, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, continuity isn't an issue. So I'm not really worried about it. So yeah, you're dead right when you bring that up, man. And it's still continuity schmontinuity. All right, let's move on. The next question comes to us today from Cable Couch, who writes, "Hey guys, love the show. Thank you so much, Caleb." Did I say Cable? It's Caleb. Thank you so much, Caleb. I know the sequel to Mad Max Fury Road has already been announced and even given a title. But do you think it will actually happen? According to Box Office Mojo, it has made almost $368 million worldwide. Did the studio make enough money? I mean, even if you double the production budget, which was about $150 million, it still seems like it made enough to justify a sequel. All right, Caleb, well, thanks a lot for the question. Yeah. X-Men, Mad Max Fury Road did not make as much money as they were hoping. And it certainly didn't make as much money as it deserved. I did not go bananas over Mad Max Fury Road like a lot. I liked it. I liked the film very much. But I wasn't losing my mind over it. I mean, some of the action stuff was just incredible. But overall, as a total package of a motion picture, I wasn't as bananas about the movie as a lot of people, but I still very much liked it. I gave it a thumbs up. I told people they should go see it. I still believe that. And it didn't make enough money. It didn't make the money that it deserved to make, but it was profitable. Even after you consider the $150 million production budget, the $40 million they put in for marketing, and then taking away 1/3 of the box office to stay with theaters, Mad Max Fury Road still made a profit. So it's profitable. Now you're asking the question, did it make enough money to guarantee a sequel? Well, no. Mad Max Fury Road didn't make so much money that it demands a sequel, but that's not always the main issue. Now, it is the main issue if Mad Max Fury Road ended up losing the studio $40 million. That's an issue. But once it becomes profitable, the studios look at it and go, okay, then what are the prospects for another one? And in this case, in the case of Mad Max Fury Road, since most people really loved that film, critics loved that film, and the first one was profitable, the people in the studio can sit back and say, you know what? It is reasonable to assume at this point, audiences loved it, critics loved it, box office success, and we made money on it. Those three factors is enough to justify a studio sitting back and going, okay, you know what? We think it is very reasonable to assume that if we make another Mad Max film and do well with it, that it will make more money than the first one, because all the people who love that first one will come back. Word of mouth has been good. More people will come out that maybe didn't check out the first one, and yada, yada, yada. So it's not always just a question, because money is the key of everything in Hollywood. We know this, but the final box office number is not always the final verdict here. Sometimes it's, okay, it made money, so it was profitable, or maybe it lost just a little bit of money, but audiences loved it. Critics loved it. It's got great buzz and word of mouth, and we believe it is reasonable to assume that if we make another one, even more people will come out next time. So it's not just one part of the formula, the finances, it's two other parts. Did the critics like it? Did the fans like it? And then they sit back and say, can we reasonably hope that we would make even more money the second time around? And then they'll make their decision based on that. All right, final question of the day. And the final question today comes to us from Eighth Wonder, who writes, I have noticed lately that quite a few theaters are installing motion seats like D-Box, and was wondering what your feelings are on this. Do you feel they can enhance the movie-going experience, or is it distracting to what is on the screen? Thanks a lot for the question, Eighth Wonder. This is so subjective. This is an issue that is almost as subjective as the issue of films themselves. Does this type of experience work for you? Does X experience enhance or detract for you. It is a subjective thing. For me personally, I find them to be gimmicks, and I don't think they add anything to it. I think gimmicks can seem cool for a minute, then you realize this is just actually distracting me from the movie. I love new technology in the cinema going experience, but I love new technology that enhances the core experience of the movie. Great picture, deeper blacks, richer colors, brighter, sharper image, bigger screens, richer sounds, more comfortable seating, anything to enhance those core elements, those core experiences of going to the movies, I love. 3D with glasses, D boxes, smell-o-vision, all these types of things that, understandably, I totally understand why the theatrical industry is experimenting with these. I totally get it, and I applaud them for it. But experience like those, 3D, smell-o-vision, D-box, things like that, honestly, it's always the same song and dance. I try once, like, oh, that's kind of cool, but after about 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, I wish the smell would turn off, or I wish the seat would stop shaking, or I wish I could take these damn glasses off and see the richness of the color on screen. I just find them gimmicky, and they don't actually enhance those core experiences. Deeper blacks, vivid colors, sharp, big, glorious image, immersive, incredible sound, comfortable seating and environment. You know, those are the key elements and the key essential experiences of going to the movies for me. And so for me personally, once again, if you feel different, that's cool. I'm just saying this is my personal subjective feeling on it, is that I don't like them, and I kind of wish they would go away. Anyway, folks, that will do it for me for this installment of Mailbag. Thank you so much for joining me. Listen, once again, don't forget, if you've got a question or a topic you'd like us addressed Monday through Friday on Movie Talk or maybe here on Mailbag, remember, we get over 1,000 emails from you guys a week, so please understand if yours doesn't get picked because it's a very small chance. But if you want to take a shot, emails right here to collidervideo@gmail.com, and maybe you will see your question on one of our shows. Don't forget, guys, the podcasts are up and running again. Just if you've got our old podcast feed, that's where they are. They're on our old podcast feed. Follow away and enjoy the audio podcast for now. We do have a paid subscription service coming for our podcasting later, but for now, for the next month or so, we just want to put out our podcast for free for you guys to enjoy because you guys have been asking for it. So make sure you check that out there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Best thing you can possibly do, keeping you up to date on everything we're doing over here at Collider Video. And send in your notes, send in your tweets. By the way, guys, I don't know if a lot of you don't know this. We actually have an Instagram account. Just subscribe to us on Instagram at Collider Video on Instagram, because Wendy is always putting up one or two pictures from behind the scenes up every day, and they're always fun, and we love getting your comments and stuff like that. Make sure, guys, you bookmark our website, collider.com. Frosty and his amazing team of writers over there putting up to the minute daily news, insightful news, all that kind of stuff. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on in the world of entertainment, you got to be reading collider.com. Bookmark that page today. And you can follow me. I often announce a lot of stuff that's going on with Movie Talk and Mailbag well in advance on my personal Twitter and Facebook account. You can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter simply at John Campia. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us for this installment of Collider Mailbag. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.